A little behind the scenes before we dive into this episode. Eleanor was actually my first podcast guest I've ever had, and I totally did not know what I was doing, and we lost the file. Thankfully, Eleanor was so kind to come record with me again, and this version is so fun. I mean, she lives on a sailboat with her kids in French Polynesia, and they actually welcome other families to come aboard. So if you've ever wanted to go experience French Polynesia or living on a sailboat, you can totally do that. It's super fun to hear about what it's like to live on a boat. And she also has a huge passion for bikepacking. So they kind of go between bikepacking and living on the sailboat. And so she shares how they plan the trips and goes all through the gear and the systems that makes it possible to take young kids on these trips. And it's so inspiring. I love she shares her story about biking the Baja in Mexico for multiple months with her daughter before she had her son. And she even talked me through how to plan an international bike trip. So it's a super fun episode. Let's do this. Welcome to Let's Go Outside, a podcast bringing moms together to chat about the raw, unfiltered reality of doing the exploring we love after having kids. No matter your comfort level of adventuring with the little ones, this is a space to have honest conversations about the real struggles of getting out the door with the kiddos. I'm Danica, a mama living in a small mountain town who's totally obsessed with healthy food and taking my kids outside every single day. I professionally guided backpacking trips in the Canadian Rockies, and I'm certified as a Leave No Trace instructor. On the show, you'll hear real experiences from other moms, plus tips on gear, trail snacks, and the best practices in the wilderness. Whether it's hiking, camping, backpacking, skiing, or traveling the world you want to do more of, this is your place to learn, find encouragement, and strip away any comparison. Come embrace both motherhood and the outdoors. Stick around. This is your place. Welcome to the Outdoor Mom Club. Hello, welcome to the Let's Go Outside podcast. Today I have Eleanor Kababian with me. She is in French Polynesia right now on a sailboat with her family, and we get to chat about what that's like.
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me on. This is so exciting.
Yes. Tell us about your family. I want to hear about how you guys went from living in America to ending up on a sailboat these days. I guess we'll start there because it's a big question, I feel like.
Okay. It's a long story, and I really need to work on giving more of the highlight reel, but I will do my best. So Dave and I are both architects. We were working in Boston, and actually the story even begins like before that, which is when I was in college, I was backpacking through Central America, and I met these teachers on a bus, and they were on a round the world trip. And this is totally going to date me, but they like around the world trip back then was like an actual thing where you bought an around the world plane ticket and you like pre-picked your 7 stops and got a ticket. And so it just blew my mind that you could take a year off from your life and just travel. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. I definitely want to do that. But I went back to school, I got a job, I did all the things. And I think it was just always there. It was always something I talked about. And then my dad died, and Dave and I were like, let's just do that. That's a dream you have, Eleanor. Like, let's go. And first we said we were going to go for 6 months. And then we're like, let's just go for a year. If we're already leaving for 6 months, that's the hard part. And then when we were on the road, we like just budgeted so hard. We were able to stay out for almost 2 years. And then when we came back, we were like, we definitely want to do that again. But I mean, our plan was always to come back. It was never like we're starting a new life on the road. And we came back and we went back to our jobs and did our thing. And our plan was always to try to do it again. And even now, I don't really know, we don't really have a complete plan. Like, we'd love it to be our life forever, kind of moving in this way and changing things up. But we're figuring it out as we go. So anyway, so we had this plan and we're like 5 years. It took a little bit longer than 5 years, but we bought a van and converted it ourselves. And we had our daughter at the time, and we moved into the van and went around Canada and the US and some in Mexico, and we did lots of bike packing. And then our son was born, and we were thinking like, oh, what should we do next? You know, obviously not wanting to go back to office jobs. And we were like, maybe we could move on to a boat. But then we looked into boats and we're like, oh, man, they're expensive. I don't think that's like the right choice for us right now. And we just moved on with our life, and we decided to go to the Philippines, which is where my family's from, and we are maybe gonna buy like a property and start an eco resort, something like that. And on Instagram, we saw a post for a boat and this like idea of a business, and we were like, oh well, let's look into this. And so we did, and a few months later, we came to French Polynesia and purchased this boat. And here we are. We've been here for a year and a half, and we invite like especially families to come travel with us and explore like this incredibly remote and super beautiful part of the world.
What a crazy story.
Sorry,
Okay,
it's
so
so long. I wish I could figure out how to. I need to like
no.
really spend time thinking about what the important ones are, but
Oh my gosh, that just encapsulated so many years. You had to, I think you did good. I thought that was great. So 5 years, is that a 5 years that you worked really hard, saved up money so that you could quit your jobs? Is that
yeah,
kind of what you said?
totally. We just like worked our tails off and had this vision in our mind. And like every choice we made, like which house we bought, like we were like, okay, we want to rent it or Airbnb it eventually. Like I think a lot of people are buying their houses and are like, oh, where can I live for the next 10 years? What is the best school system? And all those sorts of things. Like our considerations were just different. What activities we did. Like we love biking, which is great because it's outdoors and free. Every choice we were making was we always asked ourselves, do I want this, sushi dinner, or do I want to travel for 2 days? And that's how we would make our decisions.
Okay. So are you renting a house out now then?
Yeah, yeah. We still
Okay.
have our house and we still have our stuff. We did not like sell everything. So
And did you sell your van?
we did sell our van. We outgrew it
Yeah.
though. I mean, we definitely designed it for us as a three family, and we traveled a bit when Julian was a teeny tiny baby in it. And I definitely, I would, if we still had it, I would totally advocate for doing it again. But it was getting tight.
Bring us into French Polynesia right now. So you are on a boat, you're sailing around. I looked it up on the map, one of the places that you posted where you were, and it's very far away from like the capital of French Polynesia or like the main hub. And so maybe just could you share a little bit about, I know you collected a lot of groceries and did a lot of preparation to do this a big journey, and just like how often are you moving the sailboat and everything? I sound
Um,
so naive to the sailing life, but
Not at
bring us
all.
along.
Okay, so we at French Polynesia, but French Polynesia is made up of five archipelagos of islands. And the main one that most people know is the Society Islands, and that's like Tahiti, that's Bora Bora, that's Moorea. Those are sort of like the big names. And then there's other archipelagos, and we're in the one called the Tuamotus, which is an older section, and it's about a 3-day sail away from the Society Islands or a 1 hour plane ride. And in the Society Islands, like you anchor and you can take your dinghy, which is your like tiny boat, to town, and there's groceries there. And here there is nothing. I mean, in town we will find potatoes and limes, and that's pretty much it. And then some cans. Like there is, of course, like there are people here. Yeah, we're on this atoll right now that has 16 people, 16
Wow.
inhabitants. But we did come from
Oh my
one that had
goodness.
350,
Okay.
and they're just tiny. They're really, really tiny. They're
Wow.
really out there. I mean, I think the only people who come here are on boats, and that makes it, of course, like super special. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us a little bit more about the food. I want to hear more about this,
Hmm.
about you preparing for that. And then also the locals, are they doing gardens or are they going and getting their groceries also like you are doing?
Okay, so food is so difficult because you're in this tropical place and you just think it's going to be dripping with mangoes and bananas. And of course, it's not, spoiler, that's not what's happening. When we left Papiete, we bought tons of food. Like I bought 6 months of food for like what our family would eat. Of course, we have guests, and that like affects the balance tremendously because families have such different cultures of eating and ages and all sorts of things, right? But I bought 6 months of what our family would need. So we always expect there to be like fresh fruits and stuff, and that is like not happening here. The only thing they have on these atolls is coconuts. And so most people, like the locals, they live off the land. They have coconuts. There's fishing. Fishing's a big part of our life. Like every day, Dave will go out spearfishing to try to catch something, and that's our protein pretty much. We already have a very vegetarian-based diet, so like we're not missing anything. But then we have a shopper in Tahiti who goes around and like collects everything we need, and you can either get it flown in, which is expensive and annoying, or shipped in. And so we tend to like put a grocery order in. And there's all sorts of like very classic French Polynesian complications to this, which is they say the boat's going to come and then something breaks and then it has to wait there at the harbor for like 3 weeks, or it never comes, or it's going to come one day and then it comes a day early and you
Wow.
have to be there to pick it up and you're like, oh no,
Yeah.
what do I do? You're never there at the right time. So, it's a bit of a, it's a bit of like a puzzle, but it all works out, so it's okay.
That's wild. Wow.
Talk about
Okay.
food, but can be early or late.
Yeah. You're like, we'll be flexible.
You just have to kind of get close around the time or make friends and ask people to pick up your food for you.
That's the good thing about these long, slow travel. I mean, this is your life, but I was thinking about how, our trip that we just ended was 10 weeks and like we have a day to spare. Like it's okay if the weather is bad or like if we need to rest today. And I think that's the joy of this and the way that you've probably set it up also.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, the boats is another level of slow travel. I mean, we love the bikes, which is, I mean, I thought as slow as you could travel. And I think boats are even slower.
Yes. Okay. And what does day-to-day life look like for you guys on the boat? Like, how much are you moving and how much are you exploring? And I know that you're also homeschooling, so could you share a little bit about day-to-day life?
Like we were just saying, we're going slow. I guess we move the boat maybe every 2 or 3 days, sometimes longer if we really are like just digging a spot. And there's a lot of different kind of things to explore that we're into. I think like at home, when you're at home, you've got your micro adventures that are in your backyard, right? You've got maybe one or two playgrounds, you've got a store you like, a museum, a forest walk. There's all sorts of various things that you enjoy doing. And then on the boat, especially in the Tuamotus with little kids, because I think this experience could be so different if you're a couple or, I mean, at every age, I think you would take something different away from it. But, we'll go to the beach a couple times and that's really fun. But then it's basically at every anchorage, there's maybe like two micro adventures. And then you can repeat and deepen, and that's really fun. But then often we're ready to like move on and check out something new. So we're moving every couple of days. But it's a very domestic life. I mean, one of the reasons we wanted to live on the boat is just because it's so like cushy compared to bike packing or even a van. Everyone has rooms, we have a refrigerator, we have an oven, so there's a lot of cooking. I mean, I make bread every day. We make our own yogurt and kombucha. It's like a whole very domestic existence. And then when Julian's napping, he's homeschooling, and that's usually like 3 hours a day. And yeah, so
It's so fun. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize you had an oven. I mean, of course you did. When you told me you had 6 toilets, I think it was, I was mind blown. Is it 6?
it's 4, but yeah, it's a
4. Oh,
lot.
sorry. Still, that is mind blowing. I think I envisioned maybe 1, but because you have 4 cabins or 4
Yeah.
rooms.
Yep. Every cabin has a little bathroom. So yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what a cool life that your kids are going to be like, yeah, can we just like go see the turtles today or the sharks? Like the things
Yeah,
that they
like
say.
it's crazy. Adie knows so much about marine life in the natural world. And I think all kids in general are smarter than we were, but she's got like a lot of nuanced information about them, which is really fun. Or there's these local fish traps that are just off the beach at the site we're at. We just swam over to check out what was in it. And they're very traditional traps. So I don't want anyone who hears this to think it sounds kind of abusive or something. But the first trap is full of all these fish, and the second trap is full of like giant sharks and like the biggest stingrays I've ever seen. We're blown away by them, but we go every day to check on them and see how they're doing. But yeah, there's got to be like 10 of them in there swimming in circles. But anyway, it's pretty cool.
So cool. Do you want to map out for us what it looks like to come on your boat?
So even before you come on the boat, we send out a food survey because I feel like food is such like a big part of life and such a wonderful part of a holiday too. And so we have a food survey, and then we really have to go through that whole process of getting the shopper, and they buy everything they can, and like a lot of the time they can't. Often we ask people like either to bring things or you get to go on shopping missions when you get to Papi AJ, which sounds like, oh no, especially with the kids. So if obviously if you were coming with your kids, we wouldn't do that, but you might really enjoy it. So you arrive and we pick you up from the airport and like, okay, in your situation, your kids would have their own cabin. I'm in my daughter's cabin, and you and your husband would have your own cabin. Our vibe on the boat is to make it that you're like visiting old friends in our home more than you're like coming on a charter, or it's not meant to be like a completely like red carpet experience. It's meant to be like very fun and engaged, and we're all just like chilling and on this like great cool adventure together. There's tons of things to do. I mean, like you get to the water and everyone thinks you just like sit on the boat for 10 days, which is not the case at all. Of course, there's lots of activities off the boards. We have paddle boards and kayaks. We have what we call the pool, which is just like this floaty. It's perfect for Julian and really little kids who don't want to be in the open ocean or aren't comfortable with it, or like parents who just want to chill out at a slight distance away from their children. And there's tons of snorkeling. Like all the different anchorages have something different to offer at them, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's nuanced differences, but like the one we're at right now has this beautiful sand beach, which not many places in this archipelago we're in right now has sand. It's a lot of coral. And or you will walk to the reef edge and see the other side of the atoll, or you'll go snorkeling, or there's a shark site, or there's just different like features at every place we go. And yeah, I mean, we do everything we can do.
Okay. Wow. That sounds so fun.
And there's a lot of like cooking. One of the things we offer is a cooking rotation, which is part of like what makes it collaborative and a more affordable trip. And everyone pitches in, cooks their favorite things. We try to figure out in advance what ingredients everyone needs and get them all supplied on the boat. And it's just eating and enjoying and swimming and exploring. And it's very fun, relaxed, filled days. We are thinking of rebranding the business as Chill Ventures because it is super relaxed. I mean, you're not like, it is not a go, 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 go experience. We're not moving from one thing to the next, but everything you do is very epic. You're like, oh my God, I just swam with sharks, or like, I just spent the afternoon foraging and preparing our meal from the land, stuff like that.
In my mind, it sounds incredible. And I love that you just have even defined the fact that you want it to be like a time with old friends. And that is
Yeah.
really bringing me that. I think that's the selling factor right now for me after coming home from a trip where I felt like, I feel like I didn't meet a lot of people, or, there wasn't a ton of connection. Sometimes you want that, like that's so life-giving, or like doing a trip with friends. But I
Yeah.
love that. I love that you said that.
Yeah. And like I think people think like, oh, I've got kids. I don't know, I should just like go to an all-inclusive or be my myself, or I don't know. I guess there's lots of different dispositions people have towards their kids and traveling, but I love bringing kids together because even if you're like, oh, I don't know if my kid's gonna get along, they usually really take care of each other, and the age gaps are okay. At our daughter's age, whether a kid, our daughter's 6, and whether a kid is 12 or 3, they're able to play and engage with each other in a way that's like super fun, I think, for them too. And it gives the parents a breath of fresh air too. And that's really fun about it.
That's so good. I think it's so good also for kids to interact with kids from different ages. And they learn so much. I'm sure that just hanging out with your daughter, they would learn all about the sea and the ocean. And yeah,
Yeah. I
that would
think
be
I read
so
a book
cool.
once that said something like kids who are all the same age they just teach each other bad habits.
Mm,
And then it's like from different ages that they are able to grow. And I think that's kind of true.
yeah. I think parenting, like siblings, you now see it. You see how fast the younger child picks up stuff from the older child and vice versa, even. It's beautiful. I love the sibling situation that's going on at my house right now. It's very fun.
That's awesome. How old are they again?
Clay is 2 and Koa just turned 5.
That's awesome.
So fun.
So fun.
Okay, we're going to jump back. I want to go back to bike packing because this was your thing for so many, many years. And I know that you have done some epic bike packs with 80. I am interested in going bike packing, but I have never done anything like this. So I want you to share a little bit about how do you plan a bike packing trip, if you could speak to that.
As a somewhat crunchy mom, I care about the fibers my kids wear. I haven't switched everything over yet, but the one material I'm always looking for is merino wool. It comes from sheep and it's processed into fabric that's naturally quick drying, breathable, and temperature regulating. For base layers, especially ones my kids wear repeat on trips, merino wool is my first choice. So I wanted to tell you all about Wee Woolies. They're a Canadian company that specializes in kids' base layers. making ultra soft wool from New Zealand sheep. Their clothing comes in many fun colors, keeping kids warm when it's cold and cool when it's hot. For Let's Go Outside listeners, use the code Let's Go Outside to get 10% off your next Wee Woolies order. The link is in the show notes. If you're looking to hit your protein goals, balance your blood sugar levels, and energize your day, I have just the recipes for you. I have compiled the top high-protein snack recipes from my food blog into a mini e-cookbook. They're easy to make with whole food ingredients. Many of the recipes include nuts, hemp hearts, or eggs as the main source of protein. To get this free ebook, go to besidethemountain.com/protein-ebook or check out the show notes below.
Okay, so I have so many trips in my mind. I think just from over the years, you see ones other people are doing, and you're like, that is so epic. I would love to do that. And you just get ideas. We figured out the things that really work for us, like what are the priorities. So I think the list would include access to water, easy camping, and I think those are probably our top 2 priorities, and places without cars. Like for other people, it might be hotels or culture and cities at like interludes, but we're really looking for more off the beaten path places because the kids can just like shut down the trip and being able to like stop when we need to stop and not be like, oh, we still have to go 20 miles to get to the hotel and we're in suburbia, so we really can't stop right now. That doesn't work. So we're looking for like the really remote places. And that of course comes with its own challenges. But yeah, we just pick from the hat. Like we're planning our summer trip. We're going to Kyrgyzstan, and it's someplace like I love the Silk Mountain Road Race. I follow it every year obsessively, and it's so beautiful and so cool, and I'm never going to ride that. But I wanted to like be in that zone, and years ago Dave and I cycled across Mongolia, and we love that experience. And so that's how we end up in Kyrgyzstan. It's sort of like a bikepacker paradise. And we just go online and look for documented routes as our first stop, and how many days they are, what the water is. You just go through the trip reports and find which one seems reasonable for like our needs. And then we'll put them together in an offline map, do another check. We usually like mark where hospitals are. I guess that's the only one that we really look into. But, we'll figure out what the documented water sources are, what the documented resupply is, kind of expect that it's going to change a little bit, but make sure it's manageable because a lot of these routes people are riding at an adult pace, which is not the pace we're riding at. So if someone says like, it took me like 12 days to do this route, we can definitely expect that it will take us like 24 days. Yeah, it's a trick because you need to carry more to go slower, but then at some point your bike gets so heavy, it's slowing you down even more.
Yeah.
But you still need to get there.
So how far can you go with the kids these days? We did
the Baja Divide when it was just 80, and she had just turned 3. And that is like some rough riding. It's very tricky. It's the desert. It's really hot. And we would go about the most we could go is like 3 or 4 days without access to people or water. So
okay.
And that was okay. But that's carrying 20 liters of water.
Wow. And do you know how many kilometers that is? Or
it depends. I think we'd do like 20 to 30 kilometers a day. Sometimes less.
Okay.
Which is so sad sounding.
Tell us the different systems that the kids can come along with, because I know that you've mentioned before to me that there's like 5 systems that a kid can come along on a bike. So would you walk us through that?
Yeah, sure, of course. All right, there is your front seat for small toddlers. We really love having a front seat because you can like chitty chat the whole time and tell them about what they're seeing, and it's super engaging, which at least for our kids, and probably all kids, just like love that focused talking. There's a back seat, which is good for older kids. At least when you're bike packing, for us, I guess we don't balance our bikes properly, but we have a lot of weight in our back, and then you put a kid on the back, and that's pretty tricky, but also super fun. They're out there, and I have to plug in my computer. Second, please. Actually, Dave's computer, so I don't know where he puts it in. Let's find out. Yeah, there's your back seat, which is also great. I love that. There are Max rides, I think they're called, which is a seat that attaches to your frame. So the kids are kind of in between you and your handlebars. They don't have a seat with any sort of harness system, but they are like snuggled between your arms, which looks really awesome.
We have one called the shotgun.
The shotgun, that's the other one. Yeah. Do you like it?
Mm-hmm. We do. I haven't done a ton of like long distance riding with it, but
Yeah.
just for playing around, it's so fun. They love it. They love it.
Yeah, it's never fit on the geometries of our bikes, which is such a bummer because I feel like it would be such a great addition to a trailer and a seat because the bike seats, with the harnesses and all that, they can be so big.
The one that I have, they have recently updated it to fit on carbon frame bikes. So it doesn't, before it would go on the frame of the bike, but now it goes on the handlebar post and the seat post.
Amazing.
And it goes around there. And so I feel like they're more versatile now.
Cool. I'm going to look
Yeah.
into it because
Yeah.
that might be a great option for us. Cool. See, you know all the systems.
No, just going to say my 2 cents.
And then there's trailers. There's so many different trailers to go into. We have a 2-train single wheel. So a lot of trailers have 2 wheels. We have a single wheel, which is definitely a pricier model, but it's completely worth it to us because we do so much single track and off-road riding that like that trail, the single wheel will track your bike exactly, and so you kind of know your child is not like back there. At least 80 would complain endlessly about being like thrown around with the when we had the original trailer with the 2 wheels. And then now that she's getting older, there are tag-alongs, so you can like turn your bike into a bit of a tandem and attach it to the, like, what's it called? It's called a follow me. It's called a follow me, and it fits onto the back of your bike and attaches to the front wheel of theirs. The problem is it's like super heavy. I mean, it's definitely weighs more than our trailer, but you can take their bike on and off, which gives them a lot of flexibility. There's tow ropes, which are basically bungee cords, and you can give them a boost if you're going up hills, and those are awesome. They still have to work like the entire time they're on the bike, which, kids. And then, there's the combination of all of these options.
So what are you doing these days with 2 kids?
Because in French Polynesia, there's not a lot of riding and it's extremely flat. So Adie's just doing her own thing on her own bike, and Julian's got his little trike that they ride around on. When we go to Kyrgyzstan, we spend so much time thinking about, we actually considered having 2 trailers just because the riding is so tough and challenging. And Adie's now used to flat roads and pavement. We're like, oh man, she's not gonna love that. That's gonna be a real hurdle when we get there. But so we thought about getting 2 trailers and then just having her bike on top of one of the trailers so she could either ride or be in the trailer. And then we've kind of now landed on a tow rope and just the belief that it's going to be tricky for her, but she's going to rise to the challenge and be so good within, the first 2 weeks are going to be tough, but she's going to get past the hard stuff and then she's going to manage. And we have to take tons of breaks anyway because Julian needs to get out of the trailer, and we definitely do lots of hike-a-bike. Like, it'll all balance out. So we're putting trust in her and we're going to more minimal setup.
Wow. So when you're doing this, it's like you're bringing all the essentials that you would when you're backpacking, right? Like you have your tent and your thermarest and your sleeping bags.
Yeah. You have everything. We have raincoats and down coats because we're going up into the mountains where there's snow, and you've got it's the full setup.
The full setup.
The 4-season tent and mats and I would love to say we're going to cowboy camp, but we're not going to.
So we were just recently on the trip to Italy, and we were just trying to figure out, could we do a bikepacking trip here? What does this look like? And all these things. And we were just like, okay, that would be awesome if we could find a route to even just stay at places,
Yeah.
So I don't know. We've been brainstorming, but then we were like, well, we're here for 10 weeks. We have so much stuff. Where would we store our stuff?
Let's do a case study. You want to go
Okay, let's do it.
You want to bikepack in Italy for 10 weeks. Right?
Yeah.
Your goal is to only stay at places without any camp setup, right?
So originally we had thought, could we do a part of the trip where we bike pack? But now that you say it's an option to just if you think we could bike pack for just 10 weeks in Italy, I guess we're such beginners that is too overwhelming for us. So we would want to ease into this. And let's say we want to do a hybrid of we're probably going to bring our tent, but also stay at places.
Okay, cool. The hardest part about that situation is you have to bring all the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't save any weight, but it's really hard because especially with 2 little kids, you can't count on making it. If you know you're not doing it every night, maybe you don't need thermarest. Maybe you have hard cell foam pads, which are easier to manage and they're bulkier, but you can kind of stash some places. I don't know if they're actually light. I mean, they're a little lighter. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, wait. So that's just kind of okay, so let's say you want to take a trip to Italy. The first thing you should do is get online and look at like bikepacking.com, and I'll send you some links to some other websites because bikepacking is a bit more towards the like rugged and rural routes. But like look at the tracks and find if you can make connect yourself a loop.
Okay.
And like, do you have an idea if you want to be in the north or the south?
The South. It's warmer.
Okay, it's warmer. Yeah. Priorities. Absolutely. Yeah, so I think the first thing to do is check out some websites and see some pre-figured out routes. And do you know how many miles a day you can do with your kids?
I don't know. Maybe we'll go off your miles.
Yeah, I mean ours are low.
I'd say ours are lower because we have younger children.
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean it because I mean Julian's 2. I think our
Uh-huh.
kids are like within weeks of
Okay,
each
yeah.
other. And they nap, which is nice. And so during the nap time, does your older kid nap? 5, probably
No,
not.
but if he was in a trailer, he could sit there. He could entertain himself with a pair of scissors and some paper for 2 hours, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, 80's the same way. I feel like she will listen to podcasts eternally.
Yes.
She loves them. So we give her a speaker and a pad of paper and she just draws and listens to the podcast. But in Italy too, you're probably not going to be on as rough roads. So you probably are going to be able to actually make some pretty good distance, which I would
Okay.
say you probably could do. Like when we did the Great Divide, the Continental Divide here in the US, we did about like 30 or 40 miles a day. So I bet you guys
Okay.
could be close to that.
Okay.
And then like look at the tracks and see, just go through mile by mile and see like, okay, this town is 25 miles apart. We just know we have to get there. And then, just plan it pretty carefully, especially for your first time. And even if, okay, so let's say there's a stretch where there's 60 miles, are you on warm showers? Do you know about warm showers?
No.
Okay, warm showers, it's couch surfing for bicyclists.
Okay.
And you make a profile and you can look in areas for hosts and you write them and ask if anyone can host you. And that's like a great system. I mean, it's wonderful because you get to stay with local families, which is like so much fun and have a real personal connection, which is exciting. But then, yeah, it can like fill in the gaps where you have a stretch where you need someplace to stay if you're still somewhere really populated and you can't necessarily camp. But the other thing is people are really amazing and you could go to a house and knock on the door and be like, "Excuse me, we're on a bike trip. Can we camp in your garden?" And we've never had anyone say no. Or if they can't, they don't want you there, they'll tell you where you can go. Like, oh, there's a church up the road, like 2 kilometers. You can go set up there. Nobody will bother you. Like being on a bike, I feel like is such a great equalizer. You're so vulnerable to the world, and the universe like delivers goodness to you. And people are interested, and especially with the kids, you're like a real circus, and they're happy to talk to you and engage with your kids. And yeah, the goodness of the world like delivers on a bike.
This is so good. This is giving me a lot of hope and excitement. And yeah. Can you
Yeah.
tell me how you bring your bikes to another country?
You go to your local bike shop, ask for a bike box. E-bike boxes are bigger, so that's nice. And then you have to break down your bike, package it up, wrap it up. If you don't know, I would check YouTube because you gotta like wrap your components and take off your handlebars, take off your wheels, deflate, empty your panniers, And yeah, you just tell your airline that you're checking a bike. And it used to be so super annoying where every airline minus like KLM would charge like $250 per bicycle. But a lot of them now will take bikes. So with like $50 charges. So that's cool. And your trailer, get an extra large stroller bag and check it as your stroller instead, because once we had to get a refrigerator box because ours doesn't fold down, like, so we had to put it in a refrigerator box and check it like a piece of luggage, and then we realized, oh, you can put it in a stroller bag and call it your stroller, and
There you
that's
go.
done.
That's
That's
free.
great.
That
Yeah,
is
fill it with your
that
helmets and your panniers and your stuff.
that's a golden ticket tip right there. I love that. Have you ever rented bikes internationally or for trips?
For a trip now, just for
Okay.
like day
Okay.
trips and stuff. I think it's too risky, like stuff breaking. You don't have your own tool sets. I guess we could bring our tools. Yeah, I don't know. You don't have your components. No, we've never rented anything. But I do have friends who just did a trip in Denmark and they rented bikes and it was fine.
Okay. Okay.
But like
Wow.
our goal is to get out there, so we
Yeah.
have never really had that option. A lot of countries in Europe, like water is so easily accessible. I mean, in towns, I guess if anyone in Europe listens to your podcast, they're going to be like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. But I know there's so many places where you can fill up the taps in public,
Uh-huh.
right? Or
Yeah.
even if you don't, like when you pass a house, when we're traveling in the US, we will go and ring a doorbell and ask if we can have water from their tap. And I would 100% do the same thing in Europe. No question. I don't think that's a big deal at all.
Yeah.
So water is like one of the major issues because it's so heavy and you have to bring so much of it for kids and food for cooking and everything else. But the great thing is you have so much access to snacks and food, and that's really nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is good. Okay. Anything else to add to the Italy trip?
I think it would be amazing with kids, and you 100% should do it. I think if we find you some routes, we connect with some routes, it could be very manageable. Again, like you can find towns and stay in them and then pack like the most minimal camp setup you can manage.
We're going to get those links from you and put them in the show notes so that
Okay.
whoever wants to plan their next bike trip is going to do that. Will you tell us about one of the bike trips that you've been on? I know that you have a specific story of in the Baja about running out of water and how you got through and bonded together as a family.
Okay, so the story you're thinking about is we rode the Baja Divide when 80 was 3. And the Baja, it like zigzags back and forth across the Baja Peninsula. So it's super hot. It's in the desert. Resupply is unpredictable. But it's incredibly beautiful. It's one of those sites or one of those routes that I had seen so many people ride. And I was like, oh, one day I need to ride this. It just looks amazing. But we go really slow. And so we had this stretch where there was 4 days when we weren't going to see anyone. Or where we weren't going to like hit a store or a town or anything. And of course, we didn't see anything. There weren't any cars. We didn't pass a single person. And we were, I think, like 10, maybe 8 kilometers from the store. And the store it's not like a supermarket. I mean, it would just have water. And apparently, they would cook food there. We were really excited about it. But we were 8 kilometers and it was probably like sunset. And, Dave and I are sitting there like bickering. What do we do? Do we push on and risk the store being closed, which it most likely would be because it would be past sunset? Or do we camp here? But the problem is we had like one package of ramen and like a cup of water, which obviously we would give to our daughter just to drink. And as we sat there, I'm going to say blaming each other. As we sat there bickering about what to do. Out of nowhere, after not seeing a soul for 3 days, like a truck comes bumping down the road. And we were like, what's this? A truck? And so we stop and we're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Do you have any water? And they're like, no, I'm so sorry. I don't have water, but I have a beer. And we're like, not what we were looking for, but like, hey, there's some carbohydrates in there. There's some liquid. We will. Thank you so much. What a gift. Like, that's amazing. And then as we're like saying our goodbyes, who pulls up right behind him but another truck? And we were like, what is going on? A second truck. I mean, this is 4 days where we haven't seen like anything besides coyotes and cactuses. So this is incredible. And we go to the second truck and we ask them like, do you have any water? And like, no, we don't have any water or food, but we do have like 2 Gatorades. And we're like, oh my God, 2 Gatorades is amazing. Thank you so much. And we're like, okay, great. We're going to camp. We can like have a beer and Gatorade and 80 can have some food for dinner. And that's great. I'm making the bike trip sound terrible. This is because we pushed our planning to the absolute limit of what we could do. And then, so we're like, okay, great. We're going to stay here and this is perfect. And then but a third truck comes down the road and we stop him. We're like, oh, do you have any water? And he did. And I mean, he didn't like fill us to the brim, but I think he probably gave us, like 2 water bottles full. And we were like, incredible. I mean, we can camp so comfortably. We can make our bike ride tomorrow comfortably, and like life is good. And it was such a beautiful camp spot. It was one of our favorites to this day, just surrounded by these super tall cactuses and a nice clearing and perfect stars. And it was just so great. And then so the next morning we ride on to this little store. And of course they've run out of gas, so they're not cooking any food. And they also just have like ramen and cookies, whatever. We're like, oh gosh, now we really have to get serious and make it to the next town, which I think had probably planned 2 days for. And now we need to make it in a day. But then who pulls up? But this group, these guys that run, what are they called? Like dune buggy tours. And so there's like a group behind us somewhere. They're waiting to like come meet us. They're taking the same route we took on. Are they dune buggies? What are they? Those like sand cars, wear a helmet and they throw up all
Like
the sand.
quads or like a rhino?
Yeah, something like that. Maybe a quad. Yeah, like a quad.
Like a
They
4
run
by
a
4.
Yeah, exactly. They're you're like out there in a frame,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And then so they run 4x4 tours, and they were just waiting for their people to like come, and they like filled 80s pockets with candy. And they gave us so much, again, Gatorade and chips and all the snacks they had like prepared for their people. But we were like, this is amazing. This is, this is great. Like we have ramen and candy. What else do we need? But yeah, I mean, it's enough energy to get us to the next spot and like super good vibes, and it was really fun. Yeah, so problem solved by the universe
80
and
will
the
always
kindness
remember
of
that.
other people.
It always works out, doesn't it? You're going to get through it. You stuck together as a family, and 80 was taken care of. And what a beautiful memory.
And she does. She actually asked us to tell the story the other day about the people who filled her pockets with gum because it was the first time she'd had gum, and she ended up like eating it because she didn't know she was supposed to. But she's fine. It's just gum.
Yeah. Wow. So don't
Yeah.
start with the Baja.
I would definitely say do not start with Baja.
Okay. Wow. Thank you. I feel like there was so much gold. Like, I'm so excited about getting into bikepacking, the sailing. Wow. I'm so inspired, Eleanor. Thank you so much for sharing all of this.
Oh my God, you're so nice for inviting me on here, and thank you so much for chatting with me.
I have a few questions as we close out.
Okay.
I want to know your favorite moment outside with your kids.
I don't know, like every single sunset we've ever seen together. It doesn't I don't think there's anything specific.
Okay.
Just being out there together is such a every single time we go this is well, okay. So on the front of our boat we have a trampoline, which is what like connects the two hulls together. And every night after dinner we go outside and we turn on the underwater light. The underwater light attracts like fish and sharks and rays and all sorts of fun stuff. And at least right now that's my absolute favorite time of every day, where we all are lying on the trampoline, faces into the net to see what's under there, or if nothing's going on we lay over and look for shooting stars. And they run around and have like songs and dances and routines that they do. And it's just such like a beautiful closeout to every night. And I think I'll remember that forever. Yeah, it's really nice.
That's such a good thing to look forward to every day. You're like, this is a hard moment right now. I'm parenting. I'm going crazy. But like, then you get to that point of the day and you're like, we made it. Like, what a good celebration. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's really lovely.
Do you have sunsets every night out there if it's not like super stormy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, there's so much sky. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about living on a boat too. At home, you see them, you notice them when you notice them, if you're outside or happen to see them. But I mean, I think every day we pause and are like, wow, look at that sunset. There's rarely a day we don't take a minute and watch it, which is nice.
When I'm retired, I want to be able to see every single sunset. Like my retirement plan, that's it, So
Yeah.
maybe I just need to live on a boat, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's a calling for you. You
There
guys,
we go.
are you boat people?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay,
We'll
cool.
have to see. Okay. Second to last question. What is one unique tip that you have for moms to explore and get out more?
I mean, besides just like go for it. I think we all get in our own way of things we dream of doing. Like it's really easy to just block yourself and find whatever small step you can make to like go towards your goal. I think first, I guess just knowing what your goal is, whether it's to go camping alone with your kid, or if it's to go on a bikepacking trip, whatever your goal is, first kind of having a dream, I think is really important to like motivating yourself towards action. Because if you just say like, I want to go outside with my kids, or I want to spend more time outside, that's a bit broad, right? Like, I think when you have like a very specific and clear idea of where you want to go, it's so much easier to take action and just take like whatever small step you can. Or it's like, even it doesn't even have to be do an overnight first. It can be like do an afternoon alone, or make a packing list of what 2 days of food would look like. Whatever, just there's so many components to any of these trips that women, these women that you're interviewing do. Like just pick any one that seems manageable to you and start there.
So good. I love that. Have a specific dream. That is such a good tip. I love that. Thank
And
you,
I think
Eleanor.
the dreaming is such a fun part of it,
Yeah, it is.
And like closing your eyes and like developing that world and what you want it to look like and what you want it to feel like. And I don't know, I think that can be so self-motivating instead of all this long laundry list of things that can crush your
And I've been thinking about that lately. Part of getting to that goal, part of living it is the anticipation of it and how fun that is. Like that. Yeah, I was talking about a friend about when she wants to have kids or whatever. And I was like, part of it is like getting excited about the idea of having kids. And then it's like working towards it. It's not just like when the kid is there, like when you're actually, it's the whole part of it. And I think that's so fun.
I think the dreaming of it is actually more fun than the reality.
And the looking back.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. You're like, why was I having such a hard time? It was perfect. Yeah.
Okay, Eleanor, thank you so much for calling in to me off from your boat. And I want you to share where we can follow along, watch your beautiful videos of you guys on the boat. I love the drone shots and underwater shots. And also tell us how we can get on your boat.
Well, this year we have some super fun stuff happening in the fall that we still have availability for. The humpback whales migrate through French Polynesia in the fall. They come into the lagoons to rest because the lagoons are like protected from the open ocean. And it's amazing because there's all these moms and these babies, which are so sweet. This is where they give birth. And so we have one cabin, like one trip left for a couple or two friends where we're going out with this amazing underwater photographer. I am like her number one fangirl. She's Rachel Moore on Instagram. And we're going to go out with her for a couple full days to look for the whales, and I'm so excited. And then with the backpacking mom, we have a women's retreat coming up, which I've seen so many of these women's retreats online, and I have just been dying to go on one. So I'm so excited that one's just like coming to me. And I think just the idea of being alone with other women, living our best lives, doing cool things, I can't imagine anything better. So I'm super excited for that trip. And Stephanie is such a hoot and a wonderful human being, and I can't wait to spend time with her. We have a Bora Bora trip that's open, and Bora Bora, it's like this ultimate destination where you're gonna pay like $2,000 a night at these hotels, which is crazy. And
They actually pay $2,000?
a night,
Sorry.
like that's the starting price. That's a starting price, which is crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. But and Bora Bora, I love it. I think it's so super beautiful, but I definitely think the best way to experience it is on a boat because you're in the lagoon. You are immersed in what is best about it versus at the resorts where you're kind of trapped at it. You're basically having an all-inclusive experience, which is totally cool and fun for certain times and events. But the boat's a little better. And we have a Moorea trip also open, which is great. And it's right next to Tahiti, so it's super accessible. I don't know, Bora Bora and Moorea might be the two most beautiful. When you see it, there's no way to not be this is incredible. I can't believe this is in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So some exciting trips, and of course we've got stuff next year too. And we just love having people join us. So I think that's the best part about having this boat is all the wonderful people that come into our lives and get to share this experience with us. So come join us.
Yes, how could we not after all of those fun stories? Oh my goodness. Beauty. Thank you, Eleanor. The best way to connect with you about all those things, would it be Instagram and your website?
Okay, so I only have Instagram, so that makes it easy. We're Designed to Explore, and that's the same as our website, which is designedtoexplore.com. And there's a schedule there, and you can always, if it's something you're dreaming of, just reach out to me and we'll talk about it. Yeah, we're a family boat and a small business, and yeah, we're in our business is just making big dreams come true. So talk to us about it.
So cool. Thank you, Eleanor.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Thank you so much for being a part of this community. I am truly grateful for you. If you have any questions about planning a bike trip, Eleanor said she'd be happy to help, so send her a message on Instagram. I joked with her that she needs to add bike trip coaching packages to her website, but seriously, feel free to reach out to her. She is so knowledgeable, has so much experience, and just let her know that you heard this episode because I know that would mean so much to her. As always, all the gear and all the recommendations we've mentioned are linked in the show notes. And one more thing, if you haven't yet, please take a moment to leave a star rating and review wherever you're listening. It means more than you know. It's such an encouragement to me, and it helps other moms find this podcast and get inspired to do the outdoorsy things that we all love to do.